Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide in this meditation practice that enters a space of mindfulness through the act of drawing. This week I've been thinking a bit about where does inspiration come from, or just the getting started on things. I find a lot of it, for me, comes from commitment to doing things, and they have to get done, so you find a way. But this morning, as I was thinking about what to do for the exercise, trying to come up with a theme, which always includes kind of a challenging deliberation of what is accessible to many and what is a technique that anyone could kind of do, but also builds and encourages thinking and learning through that practice. Sitting with my sketchbook at the coffee table, asked my partner, got a little exasperated, I don't feel like doing this or don't know what I want to do today, kind of thing. My partner suggested, well, you can always draw my hip opener poses from yoga. And I thought, okay, maybe we can get something from that, but I don't know, because like yoga is specific and it's kind of a thing you'd have to know or be able to bring to mind to draw inspiration from. But since I have some experience with it, I suppose I can start there and just begin that pen or pencil moving around a little bit in the sketchbook and come up with something. And so that's where the impetus for the exercise comes from today. It has nothing to do with doing yoga or that specific practice dealing with the hips, but it starts from there. And that's what I think can be fun to meditate on and enjoy while experiencing these practices of where does just the act of engaging with the page, with a pen or pencil, with an instrument, start to reveal the inspiration, the act becoming the thing that inspires more so than the inspiration inspiring the act. But enough of a setup. We'll go ahead and jump right in, get ourselves drawing, and see where it takes us. We'll start with a short warm up, just a few minutes to get a sense of the technique, get an understanding of the visual relationships that'll start out the practice so you can listen and don't have to watch too much of what's going on the screen unless you want to. And then we'll follow with a larger, longer exercise and dive in and see where your own exercise takes you in your creative practice of mindfulness. So go ahead and gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. We'll start with kind of a shape that is that opening form of the legs. So on a warm up little piece, just a simple kind of bend that opens up one side of a space, and then similarly, somewhat symmetrical, but they can wiggle and wobble, something that may open on the other side of the space. So the hips to the knees to the feet there are present in the inspiration. But as we work with that, then we'll build it into something more spring representative, a little floral arrangement, and so we can continue the same general pattern. And in the warm up, getting a feel for how you'd like to draw with it, whether it's more curved or more sharp, can all work out, or a little in between. You might notice that one direction that you go turns out crisper and one more gradual, depending on your angle there throughout the exercise. But part of it will be leaving open space. They don't quite connect in the center. They may not connect or overlap at the edges. Little strangeness that can come into play. And with something like this, we can just keep building the same kind of diamondy shape. I get that general sense of some kind of flower, plant-like thing. So we'll do several of those. And we'll basically build off of there, and you can kind of choose your options in adventure. Some of it may incorporate bringing other layers into it to start to see them as having a bit of wrapping or rounding shape, a little shell. You might bring in some leaf and vein options, or anything else you find along the way. We'll play just for a second in the warm-up to get a sense of that, to maybe make a few solitary versions of this little opening, closing kind of convex petal form. Feel it out in different orientations and different sizes. Depending on the shape you go with, you may have a quad petal like that, or you could go to 5 or 3 or 6, maybe a game between them. But that opening of space but opening on two sides that then causes a capturing of space. Like we're going to see figure in will be our guide in the exercise. Pen or pencil, whatever you feel comfortable with, colored pencil, something fun, will all work out just fine. Just making those simple marks, and there may be some room for a little shading and tone or hatching along the way, depending on how long each little bit takes. Get familiar and comfortable with the page there, with those petal forms in mind, letting your own imagination coalesce into a direction. None of them are right or wrong as a direction, just a direction to start going. With that overall configuration in the forefront, take a couple of breaths just to let things out, loosen up a little bit. You may move a little side to side or wiggle the hands, rotate the wrists. So you take a few heavier breaths just to center and ground in. And as you feel ready, find the place to start on the page that feels the most inviting. Know that first mark will be the little elbow extension to a wisp. Take a breath in, set your place, set your start of action, and form that first bend and opening of space to one side or the other. We'll start in early with the breath as a guide, just to oxygenate and relax the body. So for each one, starting again, establishing deeply your place, your presence, and on the exhalation, wrapping the space a little bit into a petal form. Depending on your configuration, you may already have it planned and can start working across or adjacent to build up to it. Where you see the next petal forming, same cycle of taking a breath in and letting it begin the journey out through the pen or pencil on the paper. The first few slow, on cue, breathing in to establish and out to form the shape. As we get more relaxed into the space, let that open up for now. And establishing breath in when you're ready, hold a bit at the top. And a marking exhalation. Little time in between to see what's shaping, to let the imagination picture the next place of beginning, the next mark of completion. Breathing in when you're ready, and exhaling it out there to be on the page. Start to let that pace open up for yourself. Find your cue for the inhalation and the exhalation, as we may start to diverge from 4, 3, 2, 12 petals, whatever you find, each one added with that cycle of inhalation and exhalation. And if you need one or two more to complete kind of enclosing of that space, go ahead and take them. We'll move to exploring the arrangement before starting another, thinking about how it can fit onto the paper and establish itself through its openness. The center here, unpresent, perhaps we can make a little focusing mark that reaches out into the space between a layer down below, suggesting something holding the center. Perhaps just a little shading in that space that brings all the individual pieces into place. Perhaps an extension out from that center and the gaps between, something reaching for the light. The central spine or trajectory of another series of petals or leaves further down. A little continuation and completion of that layering. Now only part of the elbow shape visible, peeking its way from behind. And create a few more. They may overlap, go underneath, working at your pace with that breath cycles, guiding each action or point of beginning through a relaxing exhalation, but at the pace that you find feels natural to you, keeping track of where things are in space. The pedal goes over, under. That's fine. Part of our exercise is trying to bring some tension to that action and engagement with the space of the paper. But sometimes we get absorbed in the local, something else forms there. Populating some of that background figure around the paper, breathing through motions. Leaving the openness and lightness of the figure. Noticing the places of consistency or areas of high variation as you draw. Imagining in the context of a more natural, organic thing, high amounts of variation may be possible, but the patterns persist. Finding space around that page. Slowly forming out composition with simple interaction. Then as you fill up some of the territory and shift our focus, working through layers to each one, establishing its center, little variation of tone, small spiraling, extending out to find that locus. If we shade or shadow or line or texture, something that just brings it together around the middle. A little spiral that leaks into the gaps between here for me. Something quick and fun for the hand to explore. A little change, centralized, focused, the outward expansion. And as the centers take their place on the paper, tying together the lighter petals, change our attention to the figure and shape of those petals. As I experimented in the warm-up, something that came to my imagination was this little variation that always happens at their starting point And just bringing the mirroring of the pattern in, something that forms one shape more forward than the other, the predominant pedaling with a little background layer to it. So if you like, can explore in that realm, finding the difference from it, building a more distinct narrative to the shape. And finding a way to tie the two layers together again, tracing over the completing of the outer edge. Perhaps a little bit of texture, some light lines or pencil shading to show one different than the other, not superimposed, but over and under. The inside of one petal form, meeting the outside of its neighbor. Bringing difference, little application of the hand. As we play a little in the shapes created, noticing how we engage. If you are doing more shading focused thing, what direction to move the pencil in, working with a pen, which direction and how much pressure do you bring to it to create the consistency of difference? How does that change the reading of other parts of the drawing, reinforcing or undermining? Whatever you found in that time, you can begin to bring it out to all the neighbors, experimenting with it some as it grows in each context. Some far away, seen at a little different rhythm, and some close up. Each one a chance to pay attention to the way of engaging and make a little iteration if you so notice. And bring that layering of material and texture that helps us see and understand the form of things out there in nature in any context. We might get through all of them, we might not. This time spent at different intensities of interaction, close up in the far foreground, in the background, a shift of scale and dimension, slowly building a larger image, perhaps, in the mind. This atmosphere, this environment. Cycling through movements with the hand, some long and sinuous, others short. gradual, the picture beginning to form. It's good every once in a while to take a breath back. You let the hand rest for a moment if you'd like to. Close the eyes for a moment. Let what was seen there ghost a bit behind the eyes. Take a few breaths, and when you feel ready to reopen and re-engage, go ahead and do it on a deliberate moment. On the exhalation or at the end, re-noticing the atmosphere forming from the curves, the geometry taking shape, and choosing a place for your next round of interaction for a few minutes. Perhaps it's in forming the underlayer of leaves and petals. Perhaps it's adding detail to the overlayer, managing the overlap, connection between them, continuing to fill in where you began. Wherever that place is, find a way to bring your presence, the rhythm of your interaction to it. It could be through the breath cycling, the simple inhalation and exhalation, finding place, marking place, noticing at what speed or tempo that begins to happen. It may be in movement, drawing with more of the body, feeling the whole action. Or combination of those. And in that finding of rhythm, noticing all of the elements of engagement, breath, engaging the diaphragm, engaging the core, engaging all the little sensors in the nose, the sound engaging the ear. The shoulders rising and falling. So hops and movements in that action. Scapula expanding, breath and settling into the back. A little more loose, a little more liquid to the motion. With all the noticing inward. The hand keeps moving, playing, guided a little by the eye. Guided by that imagination running behind the scenes. Technique incorporated The whole system taking shape. And ourselves, engaged and present with the full extension of the action from trigger in the mind and the nerves to the feedback from the pen or pencil touching the paper, the forming and figuring of the page, and slowly seeing of something. So we'll take a few minutes of quiet and begin to play deeper into that organization on the paper, finding detail, branches, veins, texture, layers. And the nice thing about a potentially infinite field collection of shapes forming into more complex territories with a bit of an algorithm to put them together in a similar but variable way is that it can keep growing, keep going on and on to fill out more and more of the world, opening up new opportunities, detail for exploring another pace, another intensity, to find new forms and figures. And at any time, we can come to a rest and wait, open for re-engagement, some things in their process of growing. So as we approach the end of the exercise, you can make the decision of when to leave it in that process. Somewhere between first mark and an undetermined end. When the paper runs out and the ink can't fit anymore, the pencil wears down. As you feel ready to bring it to the rest, set the pen or pencil down, hear it click to the table. You close the eyes for a moment to let them relax, to rest. They've been focusing, watching, guiding. A few breaths at whatever pace feels comfortable to you, resetting internally. Give the eyes a little bit of a tight squeeze, closing them, relaxing them, closing them harder, relaxing them. And on your next exhalation, let them open. And take in whatever's in front of the eye vision, whether that's your drawing, something across the room, something out the window. Just take it in for a moment. And awaken, ready for the rest of your day. This time at the end of the exercise, the kind of closing remarks is the place where I like to do a little reflection on what was gained from that interaction with the page. And today, more just a chance to get things moving, feeling a little less motivated. It's near the end of the semester, and you get a little tired from pushing towards that final deadline of something. And it's nice every once in a while to find a little bit of that motivation in the practice, to give yourself the time to open the door there and move around for a bit. Engage in an action that brings its own direction to the page, but also gives you a chance to start to guide it, to play, to click in some of those gears and create something for yourself. So if you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments what you found, what you created there. Give it a thumbs up if you like it and share with some friends. Bring them into the mindful drawing practices. Otherwise, you can tune back in every week on Wednesdays. Subscribe if you'd like to see new episodes and new ways of engaging mindfulness through the act of drawing. Until next time, draw well. Thank you.